No more lollygagging. Getting back on track for the Houston Texans is the number one goal. But what does that process look like, and will it be enough to get in the win column? We got more Texans talk on today's show.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, from H-Town to your town. Today's episode and every episode of the Locked On Texan podcast is for Texan fans all around. New time listener or viewer, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. But to my everydayers from the Himalayas out there, thank you for making me your first listen of the day. And I am your Texans Credential Media member and football analyst, also heard on ESPN Southwest Radio. Here in KHOU, made a couple of features as well. I am John Hickman. Today's episode, we'll be diving into what does getting back on track look like, right? Success versus the Bucs looks like what for Houston? You guys let me know in the comments. I want to hear from you. What does success look like for Houston versus the Bucs? Obviously, it's getting a dub, but what else? How can they get to that dub? Preparing for the Bucs, specifically their defense. They got some guys up front in the middle that can do a whole lot of disrupting, and they got a couple of guys on the outside, young guys. They're not the Jared Verses of the world or Byron Young, but the Bucs have a very good defensive front as well. Okay, how can they prepare for that? But getting back on track for the Houston Texans, what does that look like, right? They got to get back on track. I don't want to see the fan base who's already in an uproar. I don't want to see this team go down 0-2 and what the fan base is going to look like, how they're going to react, right? So we got to dive in and talk about that. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you will get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Now, Nico Collins started his Tuesday press conference informing the media that center Jake Andrews rolled his ankle. He'll be day-to-day. We'll see how that goes. Also, on the wide receiver front, Braxton Berrios and Christian Kirk, both of those players are doing well. We'll continue to monitor that situation, but DeMeco Ryans gave no timetable at this time for either of those guys. But I can't emphasize enough how crucial it is for the Texans to return to the lineup that consisted of the same guys starting at their position or in their role during the past month of training camp as closely as possible. And that means just getting healthy. They got to get guys back that's been out there. I think that's going to help the Houston Texans a lot, getting those trustworthy players back on the field. Because when you look at, okay, they traded for Christian Kirk in the offseason. He was heavily involved with the first-team offense, and he was a real security blanket for C.J. Stroud, especially underneath when he needed a guy to be open and get open. There was Christian Kirk. Well, he hadn't been out there, of course, because of the injury. He wasn't out there versus the LA Rams. I think that they missed Christian Kirk. Again, when we started to hear whispers of, the tide is turning a little bit, the defense isn't just whooping the offense is fighting back. The offensive line consisted of who? Ursary at left tackle, Howard at right tackle, Ingram at right guard. Now, Ingram was not able to play Sunday, so they shifted Howard inside, but I think the Houston Texans absolutely, when guys are healthy, they need to get back to that lineup. So we weren't able to see the best lineup, in my opinion, for the Houston Texans. Even though I do want to give credit where credit is due. If you guys go back and watch the All-22 or just rewatch the game, the interior offensive line, I think, did a very good job, especially considering where that part of the offensive line came from in 2024. So kudos to the IOL there. Even with special teams like Braxton Berrios being out, Houston having to turn to Tremont Smith to return kicks, they had issues handling the kick to open the game. Instead of getting to the 35, Houston starts at the 20. That's a disadvantage for your offense. And the NFL has made kickoff return an advantage for teams to bring the ball out, or you can start at the 35-yard line. So Houston has to get guys that they absolutely trust, those guys that has been in place for the past month and a half, 2 months back on the field before we can really judge this team, I think, fairly. However, you got to judge them on who they're putting out there. Coaching matters. That's what we talked about all offseason. And so Right now, for me, I'm on a 50-50 judging scale. Now, for DeMeco Ryans, the one area Houston wants to be better at is protecting themselves by not putting themselves in compromising situations. Coach, what do you mean by that?
Throw it to Nico as many times as we can. Of course, that's everybody know that's a question everybody wants to answer. Of course, we want to get the ball to Nico. He's one of our best players. But offensively, I just think when you go back to the game on Sunday, we have so many plays where we're kind of playing behind the sticks and we're not doing things that we're trained to do. We're not doing things conducive to staying on track and being able to run our offense in that type of fashion. It's going to be hard, to get the ball to a certain player here or there, right? Because you're 2nd and 18, 2nd and 10, 3rd and long. Like, that's not where you want to operate as an offense. So we just got to come back this week, just do the things that we're coached to do, make sure we're staying on track offensively, making sure everybody's on the same page, and we're just putting ourselves in position to make positive plays. And when we have those positive plays, then it opens up the offense for us to be able to get the ball to whoever we want to get the ball to.
Shout out to DeMeco Ryans. I thought that Tuesday's press conference was really good, honestly. And I saw a man that took a lot of ownership as the head coach. And I'm going to tell y'all something, man. During preseason, like training camp practice moments and things of that nature, like when I was out there, which wasn't as much as every other media member, but I think they could probably speak to the same. I saw DeMeco Ryans with the offense more than I saw him with the defense. And that may be because, hey, Matt, you've been here 2 years. You know exactly what we're looking for. And you also have guys that have been in this system, leaders over there. So I don't have to worry about that. He understands that, hey, the pressure is on me this year. The pressure is on my quarterback this year. And which makes me kind of wonder, okay, why are we all even lollygagging in the first place? But and the target is now on CJ Stroud's back. The target is put on his back, and he put it on himself. But I like that. Take that pressure and grow from it and be better. But for DeMeco Ryans, the first part of that, absolutely right, man. We cannot have a game if I'm the Houston Texans where we only have Nico Collins with 5 targets, 3 catches. They got to find ways to get him the ball. And like what I don't want to see is just a conventional way. Every other offense in the NFL, I mean, you look at what the Bears were able to do, even though they lost, what Ben Johnson was able to do for seasons in Detroit, what some of these creative offenses do to get the number 1 receiver involved. Houston has to do the same here for Nico Collins. So, yeah, getting back on track absolutely looks like making sure your best offensive threat, not named CJ Stroud, gets the ball consistently early and often. But the second half of that, 2nd and 18, 2nd and 16, 3rd and 26, 3rd and long. Playing behind the sticks is going to be a recipe for a disaster. How do I know that's a recipe for disaster? That's what they cooked last year. They went through the Bobby Slug cookbook, and that was a recipe for disaster, and we were constantly fed that. So when I look at the biggest opportunity for Houston to rebound against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who's very beatable, I'm going with a loss for Houston right now, simply because of how they started the year off. It was extremely lackluster, no touchdown scored, and how that game ended. I don't think I can give them the benefit of the doubt right now. I gave them the benefit of the doubt plenty of times last season. You guys know that, but not right now. Not right now. But with that being said, the Bucs are a beatable team. They are a beatable team, but you're not going to win games against good teams shooting yourself in the foot. It's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. And again, I like the fact that, hey, DeMeco Ryans comes out and say, we have to put ourselves, and this is a word my man Stan Norfleet uses a lot, in advantageous situations. Because when you do that, the last part of that quote, then we'll be able to operate our full offense. Then we'll get back to a place where we're able to attack defenses, because we're not in a position where we're having to rebound in the middle of a drive from our own mistakes. Case in point, why this has been an issue for the Houston Texans. Now, you can take these numbers and do whatever you want with it because it is preseason, but 8 penalties, 7 penalties, and 8 penalties. Those were the penalties garnered by the Houston Texans during the preseason this year. You're looking at 23 penalties in 3 games. That's why when people talk about DeMeco Ryans and how this team has consistently showed a lack of discipline, that's why it becomes a valid argument. It starts in the preseason. But preparing for the Bucs starts right now for the Houston Texans. What does that look like? And is it going to be enough to get over the hump and get a dub in the win column? Like I said, I don't want to see this team go down 0-2. Neither do you. More Locked On Texans talk on the way. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for a kickoff. For the can't-miss offer, right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. College football, baseball, however you want to use it, $300 in bonus bets at your fingertips to use across FanDuel. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye out on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, it's easy to use, and the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sundays or Saturdays or Mondays or Thursdays. NFL is back. They own almost every day of the week, right? And I think right now for the Houston Texans, they are favored by 2.5 points. So if you're buying that, take the over. Ready to play? Let's go ahead and download the FanDuel app by visiting FanDuel.com or the App Store to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Also, Texas fans, listen here, man. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. You can't beat that. Their real-time inventory and honest leads keep honest lead time, keep you from punting projects while your industry-leading customer service is right at your fingertips. They always cover your blind side. Need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next-day delivery, right? Talk about a game changer. The Part Finder tool and the 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Texan fans, we're back talking Texans and how Houston can get back on track. Of course, not shooting yourself in the foot. That's going to help a lot, right? Making sure you get the ball to your number one receiving threat, Nico Collins. That's going to help a lot. Making sure you're not playing behind the sticks due to penalties and taking bad sacks at times. That's going to help a lot, though I'm not going to put a lot of that on. I thought he took 2 sacks. I thought he created 2, at least 1 for sure. But he did a very good job against the pressure. I just hate that we always judge, at least for the past 2 seasons, we judge C.J. Stroud so much on how he does against pressure. And that's putting him at a disadvantage, in my opinion. But preparing for the Bucs also looks like looking on the other side of the ball. On the other side of the ball, the Bucs have a defense that features some studs on the defensive. The Bucs defense has some studs. Offensively, they have some studs. And I'm going to tell you all this. I said it on the squad show. I'm going to say it again. When I look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, I look at Baker Mayfield, three touchdowns, 0 interceptions, didn't face a lot of pressure, right? So Houston, I think that's an advantage for Houston. I look at Bucky Irvin, 4th-round pick out of last year's draft, got busy. The Bucs used him. So, maybe Houston could do the same thing with their 4th-round pick. But the weapon that scares me the most right now, this is simply based on week 1, is the young fella, Emeka Egbuka. Yeah, 2 touchdowns week 1 against the Atlanta Falcons. left his imprint on the game. Now, granted, the Falcons don't have the Texans defense, but the Texans defense has shown to have issues covering guys inside. So, yeah, preparing for the Bucs also looks like game planning to make sure that you don't suffer the same defeat, the in-game defeat against the Bucs like you did against the Rams, and the chess match of how do we take away slot threats that has hurt us for the past year or since 2024. So they got to be prepared for that. But also, I look at this defense, Kalijah Kancey. If you guys have watched this show for the past 3 to 4 years, and you know I was big on Kalijah Kancey coming out of Pitt, Vita Vea, Logan Hall, Yaya Diaby, Savasier Dennis. If you guys remember me, I was big on him coming out of the draft. Levante David, Hassan Reddick, Antoine Whitfield Jr. is back healthy. Jamel Dean. They got a comparable defense over there, but for DeMeco Ryans, what are you worried about, Coach? Well, he's going to tell you.
Yeah, another great defensive line, starting with Vita Vea. He's a force in the middle. He does a really nice job run stopping. Also, they drop him back in coverage a little bit too. So he's a very versatile player. But their front, it comes from Todd's philosophy. He's going to bring a lot of exotic pressures. There are going to be pressures from safeties, nickels, like everybody's coming, and they do a really good job of disguising it. So we just really have to do a great job as an offense when the picture changes. Like, how are we reacting and responding the proper way, communicating the proper way when the picture changes? That'll be a challenge for us this week.
When the picture changes, it ain't going to always be a pretty photo. We ain't going to always get the family photo where everybody is there on time, dressed in all white or that cream color. Y'all know who like to do that cream or that earth tone color, right? That ain't going to always be the case. It ain't going to always be pretty, and I think that's what DeMeco Ryans is getting to. They will create and cause pressure. They will find ways to take away what's there, what they show you, is disguising it, and also get after the quarterback, right? That's something that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers under Todd Bowles likes to do. The Bucs had 22 pressures Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons, resulted in 1 sack, 17 hurries. So they understand and know how to get after the quarterback and make his life a little bit difficult. But on the flip side, listen, I'm going to tell you what plays in Houston's favor in terms of preparing for the Bucs as well. The Bucs didn't run the ball well against the Atlanta Falcons. If you take away what Baker Mayfield did, he had 5 carries for 39 yards. You're looking at a team that starting running back rushed for 2.6 yards per carry. Rachaad White had 2 carries for 14 yards, 7 yards per carry, but ultimately they would have rushed for well under 100 yards. They only rushed for 101 on the day, so that plays in the Houston Texans' favor. And outside of Emeka Egbuka, no other receiver really hurt the Atlanta Falcons. So I look at the favor of the back and forth. Where does Houston traditionally win? Where can they traditionally win? And where can the Buccaneers traditionally win? They are going to cause and create pressure. And DeMeco Ryans knows that, hey, Todd Bowles will get after the quarterback. He will disguise it, but he will send the nickel, the safety, the linebacker. Now, excuse me, to that point, Nick Caley, insert Nick Caley into this argument. You have Nick Caley has the ultimate, and I do mean the ultimate, reference in DeMeco Ryans. So if DeMeco Ryans is saying, like, hey, listen, Todd Bowles is going to draw up a bunch of different ways to create pressure, he knows this. He's also spent a lot of time with the offense. Keep that in mind throughout the preseason and training camp period. For Nick Caley, your point of reference is your head coach who brought you in this offseason because he understands how to simulate that. And so while the Houston Texans are going through practice, and hopefully they're not lollygagging this week, and hopefully your quarterback is saying, run it again. I didn't like how it looked. Let's do it again. Let's get this thing down pat. For Nick Caley, hey, okay, when you guys simulate it this way, what is the weak point? And what communication should I have for my quarterback to adjust the offensive line to it? Whether he needs to slide protection from the offensive line, whether he needs to shift over the running back to one side, and what backup play calls should we install here in case we get this front, in case we get that front, in case we get this type of look. That is the ultimate reference point for Nick Caley, and that is why I think Houston has a shot. Now, they had a shot against Chris Shula, right? Nick Caley just worked with him last year. They had a shot. The fumble hurt him down the stretch. Get it? They go down there and score. We're having a different conversation. We still may be having a conversation of why the Houston Texans offense looked as inept as it did. However, the win helps alleviate some of the pressure and some of the talking points that we're having. A lot of people just didn't like the loss and how they went down and lost with no touchdowns. They got to score touchdowns. That's number one. You can't beat the Bucs without scoring touchdowns. That's why the Falcons game and the Buccaneers game was as close as it was, because the Falcons were able to score on the day 2 tuds. Your offense needs to be better. Michael Penix goes out and throws 298 yards. They got to be better. Over 300 total yards. The offense has to be better. But I like this combination of DeMeco Ryans and Nick Caley this week, because I feel like if there's ever a week and if there's ever a situation where DeMeco Ryan needs to kind of put his offensive coordinator under his wing, it's this week. Why? The pressure is on to not start the year off 0-2. Colts won, Jags won. So now you're looking at being at the bottom of the AFC South division right now. And you also have the toughest schedule in the division. Cannot afford to start the year off 0-2. Right? That's number one. The pressure has also been put on your back. A target has been put on the back from your quarterback. He put it on himself. He put it on his head coach. He also put it on his offensive coordinator. And all three of those guys are going to be tied together until the moment they're not. Practice has to be better. What does a better practice look like? Being prepared for what we're going to see. Defense, simulate all type of pressures. You win in this rep, okay, let's run it again. Nick Caley, CJ, how about we do this to prepare for this look? That's what preparing for the Bucs looks like. Now, what would success look like for the Houston Texans? Whether it results in a loss, hopefully it'll result in a win. How can the Houston Texans come away from this game with a little bit more confidence in themselves, which I think from the player perspective, they have confidence in themselves, but more so for the fan base? What does a dub look like? More Locked On Texans on the other side of the break. This is the opportunity to say we are talking Texans, but we're also talking a brand that crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Yeah, they do. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholsters. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive control. With an all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can feel drive. You can feel the drive with confidence through almost any season. Like the Houston Texans players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Texan fans, listen here. Thank you for making Locked On Texans your first listen of the day. NFL season is finally here. For your second listen, get a double dose of the Locked On NFL podcast. Tyler, the Madman Roland, gives you a shot of espresso to start your football day, while Tony Wiggins takes you into the barbershop for a smooth breakdown to end your day. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, Before we close out today's show, I wanted to just say I thought, again, D'Amico Ryans, reiterating this, I thought D'Amico Ryans did a great job at the press conference, taking ownership, speaking with the media. I thought he spoke with confidence in the way of we're going to get this thing back on track. We're going to get the ship back rolling, right? I really think he did a good job there. And I want you guys to hear D'Amico Ryans kind of address the tempo in practice.
Yeah, it's never an entire group. That's the one thing about it. So there are individuals that have their moments throughout the week, and the lollygagging, it's a term everybody want to use now. It's for me, it's just our tempo, right, in and out of the huddle, right? We got to get in and out of the huddle quicker so we can get to the line of scrimmage so we can operate and make sure we got checks and things we have to make at the line of scrimmage. Well, to make those checks in the proper manner, right, we got to get out with some urgency. So the urgency piece from everybody has to pick up from the offensive side of the ball, right? The urgency picks up, then we'll be able to operate cleaner when it comes to pre-snap and post-snap.
When the urgency picks up, we'll be able to operate cleaner from pre-snap, post-snap. He mentioned the checks. He mentioned the urgency from the offensive side of the ball, right? And I'm going to piggyback off that with this clip that I've been having for a long time here. Just when I asked CJ Stroud about what he's looking forward to in terms of a different type of tempo, this is during last season. This is what he had to say.
CJ, it seems like at times you guys are just able to turn it on, coming out at halftime, 2-3 and outs, but then the final drive, you guys are moving the ball kind of with ease, aside from the penalties that had you guys go backwards. At what point do you start to look at the offense and say, no, we can be so much better if we play with a faster tempo and be able to play our brand of football?
We're playing our brand of football, man. You know, like we're you know, just because you get 2-3 and out doesn't mean you're having a bad day. I respect what you're saying. I understand. But, you know, just because you go tempo don't mean, like, things just start rolling. Like, we tried that weeks prior, and we're just getting shells, you know. So, but I do understand where you're coming from. I think, you know, we can, you know, get more of a tempo and get going a little more. And then not even just staying no huddle, really just getting out the huddle, breaking the huddle the right way. All the elite teams I ever watched growing up, Patriots, I watched Stafford a lot with the Rams. I can go so on and so forth. Man, you watch it on TV as a kid, you see how quick they break from the huddle when they get on the line of scrimmage, and the defense feels that. And now you get an opportunity to read the defense a little more, and I think that's where we can take the next level and get better at. But, yeah, I definitely do think we came out a little short.
That was last season. So obviously they know what they want to do, right? Obviously they know what they want to do. And from a quarterback perspective, he's a quarterback that I like a lot. I think the conversations right now, for some, may be a little bit too extreme, but I think that when you look at the fan base, they want to have a realistic chance of winning a Super Bowl, and the product the Houston Texans put out there Sunday ain't gonna cut it. I hit my best friend. He said, man, I don't even think we're going to make the playoffs playing like that. The product is not going to cut it. But they know that the urgency, D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud just said the same thing, and this was months apart. We're in September. I think I asked CJ Stroud this question in January. Tempo matters. Too many times the Houston Texans against the LA Rams got to the line of scrimmage with nearly 6 to 5 seconds to go. And you're looking at a Sean McVay who, from an intellectual standpoint, he understands what to do with an offense to create chaos. And that's communicated well throughout their coaching staff. I know it is, right? And for the Houston Texans, when you look at shooting themselves in the foot, a lot of that has to do with getting to the line of scrimmage and not having enough time to realize I have to change things. One thing I will encourage Houston to do this week is make sure that you take timeouts when you need to. If you need a timeout, take the timeout. We have to still realize and I think acknowledge that was week 1 of a new offensive coordinator. This is week 2 of a new offensive coordinator. All offseason I talked about why that week 6 early bye is a blessing for the Houston Texans. It gives them an opportunity to read, reset, and then react And that reacting is going out to see maybe if they need to bring in a player or two from another team. But success for the Houston Texans looks like getting up to the line of scrimmage with time to go, to make your checks, to make your audibles, to make your protection changes. They need to do that. This is the year for that. Nearly 9-10 months ago, I asked CJ Stroud about this question. He mentioned what teams? Patriots, Rams. Who did you get as an offensive coordinator? A guy that served in both. So a lot of this I will put on a little bit more of Nick Caley, but the quarterback has to be better in commanding being better. Another thing for the Houston Texans, what success looks like for them against the Bucs, because Todd Bowles, DeMeco Ryans called him out. So I don't know how he's going to disguise it, but I know he's going to disguise it. But we'll get that Todd Bowles, right? Because that, success for Houston looks like beating that pressure to get guys the ball in space so they can turn up. Okay, that being said, Houston was big on two guys coming out of college. So much so, they drafted them from the same college. Jade Higgins, Jaylin Noel. Hey, for the Houston Texans, they haven't had a 4-3 guy since Will Fuller. At least not in their young prime. Yes, make sure Nico Collins leads that game with 9 or 10 targets. Yes, make sure Nico Collins doesn't have to go the traditional way of getting his catches. Make it easy on him for some of those plays, right? 100%. But it would be irresponsible of Nick Caley to not get Jaylin Noel involved when the pressure is there. And against the Rams, pass catchers, when they caught the ball, 9 times out of 10, they just had to fall down or the contact was already there because the defender was already where they were. They have to. It is imperative. It is a must that they create opportunities to get some yards after the catch. Thank y'all for watching today's episode of the Locked On Texans Podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. We in this thing together, y'all. We in this thing together. And after Monday night, we'll have the Texans Live Squad show. Hopefully that results in a win. The Texans don't want to go down 0-2. I don't want to talk about the Texans going down 0-2. I want to talk about this team putting themselves in the mirror, the man in the mirror, looking at what they did wrong, what they did terribly, and what they did good, taking all of that collectively to be better against the Tampa Bay Bucs. Until next time, ladies and gents, Texas friends across the nation, peace.